Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome back to Planquatica, water park here in Planet Coaster 2. A little bit of a shorter video today. Over the weekend I just get less time to play, honestly. I know a lot of people, the weekend is their playing time, but I work in retail and I have a kid and I'm busy the weekends. I'm either in work or doing something fun with Xander. So actually, most of my game time happens either on evenings or a couple of days a week where I'm not in work. Anyway, enough of that. The video's shorter because I got less done. One thing I did do though is mess around with the workshop for the first time. It's pretty good. Everyone's moaning that it's really terrible. I mean, the Steam one's probably better because we know how to use it a bit more. I'm taking all these handles off and replacing them. I'll talk about that in a moment. But I actually don't mind the Frontier Workshop or whatever they want to call it. It does what it needs to do. I found what I was looking for. These actually, I saw these in Mineral's video. He didn't make them, but they were on the workshop and he used them, and I was like, oh, they're good. We should do those as well, because this episode is a lot of the beginnings of an infrastructure for this park. Because it's always fun to build slides and pools, but a lot of this sort of stuff goes alongside all of that to really make it work. Lockers and changing rooms and what have you. So I got those lockers from the workshop, but sort of budgeted them up a little bit. We added in a more of a touchscreen looking thing, and then also I was obsessed with the fact that the screen mount can now be scaled up and recolored. We use that thing so much in Planet Coaster 1. Now it's even more useful because it's both scalable and colorable, and a Mineral in his video used them as some really great seats, and I wanted to do the same, but again kind of budget them up so they're not just sort of plain plastic or concrete here. Now they have some nice wooden planks sort of indented into them as well, and that's our locker building, and then we're going to sort of cap it off with a roof. So yes, I'm fully expecting this video to not do as well view-wise as some of the others, and that's totally fine, of course, as long as the people who watch it enjoy it. But I think the reason that's going to happen is because this is the first one where we haven't done a cool thing in the game on the thumbnail. You know, we've either had a wave pool or a lazy river or slides or what have you. You know, the sort of stuff that usually gets them clicks. It always happened with Planet Coaster 1. If you had a roller coaster in the thumbnail, it would be much better performing than everything else. But if you are looking at building a realistic park, or an implied realism is always the term I give myself, because that is a nice catch-all for me doing things badly. But yeah, implied realism parks like I like to build. It's not all about the big e-tickets, the big ad campaign stuff. All of this sort of stuff is all part of it as well. And honestly, I kind of enjoy making this stuff more, honestly. I don't know if it's just because I enjoy the diorama aspect of it, I enjoy the model railway aspect of it, or if it's just that I can get away with a lot more here. The problem is when I build a roller coaster or turns out water slide, there are a lot of experts in the comments, or experts sounds disingenuous, I don't mean it to be. There are a lot of people who know a lot more about them than I do, offering advice, usually very positively, but a lot of the time I built the thing to the best of my ability, and that's going to be what you get. But there's no locker enthusiasts. so I can feel, you watch, there's going to be a ton in the comments now. Well, actually, this is very similar to the X37 locker model, but actually, I don't know. You can get away with a lot more murder with this sort of stuff than you can with roller coasters. I don't know. I have planned with Meanderville to outsource all of the coaster building, really. It can be done better. And also, I think even if, this was all real and I was for somehow magically building these things in real life, it wouldn't be me building the roller coasters. I'm clearly the more sort of creative, making the thing look pretty role in this business. And that's not the person who knows how to engineer a roller coaster so it doesn't kill people. You look at people like like Joe Rohn, the the Imagineer team at Disney. Again, I'm never comparing myself to these people, but this is what we're trying to pretend to be when we make these videos, right? You look at those sort of folks, and they ain't the ones designing the rides. They're going to companies like Intamin or B&M or what have you, and the incredibly clever engineers there are building it, and then it gets put together with all the scenery. Talking to scenery, here's a fun little thing using one of the animatronic rotators. I'm making a little a fan. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word fan for a moment. And this is fun. I will probably use this a lot all over the place. It just gives a nice little soft rotate. I remember in Planet Coaster 1, before we got some of these as part of the TNTK, there was a plane propeller in the game that I would often use, because it basically just looked like this. In this game, there are a few propellers, but they're submarine propellers, and they have a lot of casing around them, so they don't really give the impression of this kind of fan. But now we don't need it. We can attach these to one of those rotating pieces. We can sink the rotating piece into the ground, and then we can copy and duplicate this. I've also slowed down the footage a little bit on this one. It's going at 800% speed as opposed to the 1200 I usually use. One, because there's a little less of it. Not that I'm trying to flesh the video out, but I'm making the most of the fact that there's less of it, because I do have a lot of people in the comments saying that they enjoy time lapses. They in fact, it's like the only way they'll watch the game being played. But there are a few people who say that makes them a little nauseous, or they just struggle to follow. So I've tried to slow it down a little bit here. Let me know. Do you notice even? Is it any better? Is it the same? I personally do enjoy time lapses, especially at the start of a game's life cycle like this, because I really love to see all the pieces being used. And every now and again, with a time lapse, if you see something that you don't know, you can just pause it, go back a few seconds, and have a look at what they're using. Although it is one of the lazier forms of content generation, I suppose, for this game. And people who've been following the channel before Planet Coaster 2 will know that I had started to move away from it with other content such as Archer Park and the even towards the end of Pinewood Hills, doing a combination of some time lapse and then some real-time stuff and some highly edited stuff, and that's really when I want to move forward with the channel. Honestly, I'm just using time lapse at the moment because, one, I'm producing the content a little bit more regularly than I'm probably going to once the sort of hype cycle of the game has settled down a little bit, but also I do think it's a good way to see pieces getting used. Although saying that, Mineral, who I've already mentioned in this video, he put his first episode of his new series out the other day, and it was awesome, and it wasn't a time-lapse or even cuts, it just showed the whole end of the process, but he also took the time to go through and point out some key piece usage, which I think was a really great way of doing it, and that's how I saw that screen mount as a little chair, which I just thought was amazing, and I stole it. I don't care. Come at me, bro. I know he won't care, but some other people might. As I've said many times, I don't work well in a bubble. I love to see other people create. I love to see what other people do with the pieces. I love to get ideas and suggestions, and provide ideas to people as well. I know that a few people who saw the ring storage thing that we built in livestream the other day have gone and added similar to their own parks, but then whilst it looks nothing like the one that Drew built, Drew building one of those sort of cages made me think, oh yeah, of course we need to have something like that. And sometimes it's just that. It's not even necessarily a insanely clever idea or use of pieces. It's just, sometimes you need somebody else to say, hey, theme parks have these things, or hey, water parks have these things, and then you can go, oh yeah, of course they do, we should totally do that, if you are trying to sort of gain this sort of realism as you build. Yeah. So that's the lockers done. Next to the lockers we have a changing block. Both of these buildings, having looked at them afterwards, they might be a little big, but I was very aware, as far as the game is concerned, how many of these pissing changing blocks you need. I mean, you can just see there are literally hundreds and hundreds of people queuing up for the things here. Maybe once the initial run has gone down, they'll settle into them, but yeah, I did want to sort of build plenty of these. In fact, actually, I don't know whether you noticed it by the end of this video, but by the end of the time I was recording, the area had cleaned out quite a bit, so maybe it isn't so bad. The two styles of building then gone for sort of classic tiki on the locker room there with the thatch roof there. Here we're going for a bit more of like a flotsam kind of view. That awesome Viking wall piece there that just very much looks ship-like. I always think that's kind of fun, even though I don't try and make this one look like a ship this time. I just think the impression of the ship and how it works there with that gorgeous sign. I used to really love some of the toilet signs in Planet Coaster 1. It's such a weird thing to say. There was a really awesome pirate one. There was a really awesome fairy tale one, but they were all so big and bulky. And to be honest, this is kind of huge. But luckily, we're in a highly themed, highly budgeted park here where you could totally get away with that kind of thing and it wouldn't be a problem. But the fact that they can scale means you're probably going to be able to use these in more sort of realistic budget parks. So yeah, I'm very happy about those being scalable. It's interesting because a lot of the signage is themed yet very generic, much like most of the scenery in the game. The one thing I've noticed that really isn't are the windows and the doors. They are incredibly themed, like so overly themed. The Viking ones are insane. They use these big bulky things. They look great, but it's interesting because the scenery in general seems to have had a bit of a shift towards something a little bit more generic, but for some reason the windows and doors have almost dialed the theming up to 10. I don't know, it's just something I thought about looking at that sign there. Alright, here's another little cool thing that theme parks have that is completely useless in the game. See if you can guess what it is. I know a lot of you will have already. But this was really quite fun to build. There's some really great aquatic pieces that just lend themselves to this kind of thing perfectly. And yeah, if you haven't guessed it already, it's a drink fountain, a water fountain. We've got a water spout there, interestingly, actually playing the role of a water spout, although we have had to turn off the water because it's a bit too intense. And then a couple of custom signs with an asterisk and an O to, I don't know, make it look a bit like a drain. Maybe that's a bit too over the top, I don't know. It'd be really nice if the art shapes could scale down a bit more. 10% art shapes would be amazing. I would have actually made that, like an actual sink that tears down to a point if I could, but the art shape's just a little bit too big. Alright, last thing we're doing then in this episode is building a photo op. I'm going to put up on the screen, if I can find it, a picture of me and my family in one of these. It's the one we did, I think, was just like a shark mouth, like just the bone. But there's this awesome wacky shark piece, and if I don't get to use this here, I'm never going to use it. So here we go. Big shark piece that you can come and have your photo taken in. Lots of fun, and yeah, we'll sort of fill these plazas out, this one and the market one that I'll be starting to work again on very soon, with this kind of stuff, just little photo ops and all that kind of thing. Lots of fun. Fun doing this sort of stuff. If you're watching this at time of release, there will be a live stream tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. I'm off work and I've got a few hours before I really need to settle into working on a video. So let's go live. Let's place some plants down. Let's fill in some gaps. Let's have a chat. Let's see how you're getting on with the game. I really want to hear. It seems to still be very mixed. Reading some reviews, I wonder if people are playing a different game to me. Honestly, yes, it's buggy, but it's about as buggy as a Frontier game always is. To be honest with you, though, I'm not. There's a couple of issues, but for the most part, as you can hopefully see from these builds, that I've managed to push through. Here's some cactus. Some spiky bits to finish off with. I don't know. It's late. There we go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until the next one, be good.